I built the best budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck from the 2024 Mega Tins. Big dog, Vanquish Soul is one of the best strategies to come out of the 25th anniversary tin of Dueling Mirrors. And today I'm going to be showing you how this budget deck can be incredibly impactful as well as take on some of the top Yu-Gi-Oh decks. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day, phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. So when building Vanquish Soul, I thought of a few things. First, I wanted a strategy that is incredibly cheap and obviously could get the best bang for your buck coming out of the Mega Tins. But I also wanted a deck that can compete in today's Yu-Gi-Oh climate. Just so fortunately enough, Vanquish Soul has been doing decent this format. Now granted, it did only get one top over the last weekend, but that one top is a lot. To me, it proves that Vanquish Soul can still be an incredibly formidable deck in the right player's hands. Which means in today's video, I'm going to be showing you my version of Vanquish Soul, and of course, while you can change things about it, I'm going to be showing you the concepts that I'm going to be using to beat some of the top decks. And while I'm here, if you want to know what type of sleeves that I'm using my own, the Raven Wing version 3s. Go ahead and go to TheCaliEffect.com, and if you use the code Cali20, you get 20% off of your entire order. So while you're there, pick up some mats too, as it is my birthday month and I want to pass a gift that keeps on giving down to you guys. But let's go ahead and start off with explaining how this budget deck is incredibly powerful. The main engine consists of 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Heavy Borger, 2 copies of Caesar Valius, 2 copies of Zhilong, 3 Razin, 2 Mad Love, 1 Pantera, and 3 Stake Your Soul. This is a incredibly standard lineup of Vanquish Soul. And while there are some numbers that you can mess around with, you're gonna see just about this in every single Vanquish Soul deck. The ratios that are often adjusted is that sometimes people play 1 copy of Mad Love, and oftentimes people play 3 copies of Heavy Borger and 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Caesar. But other than that, that's pretty much standard. And the most important thing about this deck is getting into your Vanquish Soul Razin. If you can get into this card fairly consistently, it increases your chances of winning the game. So we do just that. There's 2 copies of Infernal Arms Durandal, a reinforcement of the army, and something that I started playing because of the profile that topped is 2 copies of Small World and 1 copy of Pride of Prosperity. Now, Small World has some unique interactions with this particular deck, and funnily enough, is because every single one of these monsters have one thing in common with one another, but typically not anything else. A cool trick to remember about Small World in this deck is that if you can banish any of your Vanquish Soul monsters as your middle line, it all leads back to Vanquish Soul Razin. This monster has something in common with every single one of these Vanquish Soul monsters, but nothing else. But now that we're done with the very basics, I think that it's time to talk about the power cards and why I play 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Mad Love. While Mad Love herself may not be a combo starter, I think she's incredibly important for the deck. Her being a level 4 monster, that means she is a small world target to be able to get into Razin, but also her effects are really good, being able to search a Vanquish Soul spell or trap card, and even the reduction in bounce is incredibly important. Because of her, we play 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Continue, and a lot of builds play 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. I think that Vanquish Soul Snow Devil is hands down the win condition of the deck more often than not. If you can set up a Vanquish Soul Snow Devil with all 3 attributes in hand, your board is almost unstoppable, which is why I play a 2nd copy of Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. Now, of course, there are some drawbacks with this card. It's typically not a card you want to see when you're going second inside of your opening hand. But I can promise you, any given time that you resolve Vanquish Soul Snow Devil twice, you are winning that game hands down. I also like the card's versatility. You don't have to activate every single one of those effects. Sometimes you're using it just to summon a Vanquish Soul monster to be able to keep yourself in rotation and provide yourself disruption. Keep in mind, those Vanquish Soul monsters have some pretty good effects to be able to interrupt your opponent, and oftentimes they're using cards to be able to negate your Rock of the Vanquisher. But outside of that, these Vanquish Soul cards are incredibly standard. I think the supporting engine as the Kashtira engine is also really standard too. There's 3 copies of Kashtira Fenrir, 1 copy of Kashtira Riseheart, and I actually really do like the 2 copies of Pressure Planet Racewar. Not only does this allow you to get to Kashtira Fenrir as fast as possible, there'll be oftentimes you'll find yourself using Racewar to search Kashtira Riseheart just because it's a fire monster. It's also a level 4 monster, so that does come up when you're trying to Exceed summon. The 2 copies of Pressure Planet Racewar is something that I got from that topping deck profile, and I think that it's a really good choice. But let's say, for example, you can't afford the Kashtira engine because that just so happens to be the most expensive thing about the deck. Don't worry, big dog. always got you. You can cut all 6 of these particular cards, and what I think is really powerful into the format is Nibiru the Primal Being. This card is completely crazy. This deck already plays 12 hand traps inside of the main board. If you combine Nibiru with one of those hand traps, you're probably cooking your opponent, and you never really have to worry about the token being too big because Vanquish Soul Razin can naturally destroy it. And this is a 42 card deck, so if you take out all 6, you really only need one more card, and I strongly suggest Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius. Now this card really does help for a couple of things. The first thing is that your big Vanquish Soul monsters really help when it comes to dodging targeting effects. But the next thing is that I did just drop 3 Earth monsters out of the deck, and sometimes you can be a little bit low. Unfortunately, Caesar Valius is not getting a reprint inside of the 2024 Megatons. I hate that Konami does that. But right now, as of making this video, the card is only $5, which is a lot cheaper than Kashtira Finra. Now, if you guys wanted to go to that lucky number 42, you can play the 3rd copy of your Heavy Borger. Personally, anytime I can play 3 and 3 of these cards, I will, because they're just so good. But you can also play another card called Dino Wrestler Pankratops, which helps you fulfill that Earth role inside of the deck. And that's pretty much it for that, the Kashtira part and the budget components. For the hand traps, there's 3 copies of Dimension Shifter, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Ash, and I think this is the strongest hand trap in the game. I think Fantastical Dragon Phantasme is ridiculous. Not only does this card allow you to be able to shape your hand and potentially get into Razin a little bit more, it also gives you that targeting protection, something that so many decks in the game desperately need. I really don't worry about having this card in conjunction with Kashtira Finra, since that really only applies turn 1. This card is like the perfect counter to so many cards in the game. It's just incredibly good. But moving on to the extra deck, to be honest with you guys, the only real cards that matter in the extra deck is your 3 copies of Rock of the Vanquisher. The second card that matters is your Battling Boxer King Dempsey. This card is used to be able to search Vanquish Soul Razin, and it doesn't come up often, but when it does come up, it comes up and it's nice. But outside of that, you can pretty much play whatever you want. So I have the Zeus package here with Borbo, Chakanine, and Zeus. 1-star Slaying Crisis. If you guys can't afford it, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. 1 Dark Arm Dragon Annihilation. I'm actually thinking about cutting this card for Tornado Dragon, but I think this is the best 7. 1 Baguska, 1 Underworld, 1 Unicorn, 1 Cerberus. This can be SP Little Knight, of course, if you can afford it. 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 Hida Charmer Ablaze. But that's it for the main deck and the extra deck. Let me show you the combo that makes this deck so deadly, and the reason why I think it can stand up against the meta just as a really powerful deck. I think if you can pull this combo off, you can beat even the best decks in the game. Let me show you exactly how easy it is to do. All right, big dog. So the combo is Razin plus any fire attribute monster in your hand. This can be Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. But in this particular combo sequence, it's going to show you the very basics of the setup with this deck. What you're going to do is normal summon Vanquish Soul Razin and use its effect to be able to add Vanquish Soul Xiaolong. And now you're going to use the effect of Razin to reveal the Xiaolong to make himself indestructible on card effects. That triggers the effect of Xiaolong to be able to special summon itself to your side of the field. And then you're going to use your Vanquish Soul Razin for a link summon into your Rock of the Vanquisher. Now, Rock of the Vanquisher will activate its effect to be able to add Vanquish Soul Razin to your hand. And now you can activate the effect of Xiaolong to be able to add Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. You'll set the Vanquish Soul Snow Devil, and then you'll pass your turn to your opponent, and here's where things get really interesting. Now, the cool thing about this sequence is that during your opponent's turn, the first thing you want to do is activate Xiaolong, revealing Razin, and cast your Rise Heart again. Since it is a quick effect, you can add a monster from your deck to your hand, and typically you want to add either Mad Love or Heavy Borger. It really depends on the situation. If you really just want the search to be able to pop off with your Snow Devil, then you want to add the Borger to guarantee your opponent can't negate your Razin. But hypothetically, if you want to go the greedier approach, adding Mad Love is the better way to do it. So from here, when your opponent would summon a monster in any of the columns not under Xiaolong, bonus points if they summon a Link monster and a monster under that column, you use the effect of your Vanquish Soul or your Rock of the Vanquisher to special summon your Vanquish Soul Razin to your side of the field. And now you activate the effect of Razin to be able to add the Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius or the Panthera. And then in the new chain, you want to activate the effect of Razin, revealing both a dark and a fire monster to destroy everything in Razin's column. Another cool thing right here is that you also have all 3 attributes in your hand. And the effect of Vanquish Soul Snow Devil does not require you to have Vanquish Soul monsters to be able to activate its effect. It's just another reason why I think that this card is absolutely bonkers. You can reveal all 3 of these cards, then wipe everything on the board that is not Vanquish Soul, and then you can special summon from your hand Vanquish Soul Mad Love. Now you should treat treat Mad Love like a blank card because we don't have a dark monster in our hand, but if we did, we could bounce a card with the lowest defense. What I like to do in this situation is add Vanquish Soul Continue, and then if things get a little bit heavy, I can always bounce my Razin to be able to special summon my Caesar Valius, which allows me to be able to summon Razin on my next turn. That's pretty much the most standard combo when you have just Razin and a fire monster, but the deck does get a little bit better if you have Razin plus a fire monster and any monster with any different attribute. To show you guys the full combo, I am just going to put Kashtira Finra in my hand, and then I am going to put a Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Here's where things get a little ridiculous. In this particular sequence, you can go ahead and special summon your Kashtira Finra to your side of the field, and then this time around, I will use Kashtira Finra to be able to add the Vanquish Soul or the Kashtira Rise Heart from the decks to the hand. We'll then normal summon the Razin. We're going to add the Xiaolong to our hand, then activate the Razin, revealing the Xiaolong, meaning that it's protected, and also meaning we can summon our Xiaolong. Then we'll use the Razin for a link summon into our Rock of the Vanquisher. I'm getting ahead of myself, using the effect of Rock of the Vanquisher to add the Razin back into our hand. Xiaolong can then reveal to, and that's going to add the Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. And then from here, we can set the Vanquish Soul Snow Devil and pass our turn. On our opponent's turn, we'll reveal the same two. What I like to add here every single time is Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius. This guarantees that I have an Earth, a Fire, and a Dark monster to trigger off the effect of my trap card. So in this particular situation, I do have Kashtira Finra for a disruption. I also have Rock of the Vanquisher to be able to summon out Razin. And in case you guys were wondering, the monster that I would search every single time in this particular situation would be the Vanquish Soul Panthera. And I even have the Vanquish Soul Snow Devil for 3 this time. I can destroy all monsters non-Vanquish Soul, but this time I will not elect to summon. What you can and you should do right here is activate the effect of your Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius on resolution, return them to your hand, and then special summon your Caesar Valius, and you still have an Earth, a Fire, and a Dark monster in your hand, meaning you also get another disruption with Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius on top of a board wipe, 2 pops, and you even have follow-up as well as an additional search. And that's why I think that Vanquish Soul is a really fun, very good budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Of course, Big Dog, if you guys have any type of suggestions for anyone on a budget for Vanquish Soul, or possibly you have some text that you've been using, maybe even Parallel Exceed, go ahead and let us know down below in the comment section. As always, I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Check out these videos so I can catch you on the next one.